An, ed an educational product by Altus Continuing Education. Caution. TDLR requires us to ask personal verification questions throughout this course. These are very simple, basic questions used only to verify the identity of the person taking the course. If answered incorrectly, it may lead to the loss of time spent previous to answering the question. To avoid typographical errors, we have provided drop-down answer boxes for each question. Please take your time with these questions. Should you have any problems, notify us at www.customerservice@altuscontinuingeducation.com. Altus Continuing Education Cosmetology Instructor Course. Teaching Methods and Classroom Management. Unit 1. Teachers Without Borders. Aspects of Good Teaching. A different perspective. The 21st century marks the beginning of some key changes in education. From regional views to global views. From covering the material to uncovering the material. From passive receipt of information to active inquiry. From a product orientation to process orientation. From compliance and competition to collaboration and inquiry. Bringing new ideas into the classroom. It used to be, too, that if one mastered a body of material and memorized facts, one would be considered a master as well. Some hold strongly to the belief that standards would be lowered if creativity, innovation, experimentation, and playfulness were introduced into the curriculum. This view has held that there is a finite amount to know, and the one who accumulates the most will succeed. An educated person, however, is more than the sum of facts. She is able to think, to solve problems, and to collaborate on new approaches. An educated person relies on research and experience to uncover new questions, rather than simply cover the material. This requires an active and imaginative mind, an appreciation for risk and inquiry, and an ability to learn from one's mistakes.
Thank you for watching. Please hit the subscribe button below and visit us at altuscontinuingeducation.com.
More ideas. Research has borne out that engaged students and teachers learn better and retain more, for longer periods of time. Engaged students in a sequenced program enjoy learning from each other, stay in school longer, and perform better on national standardized tests. We tend to think of these views by remembering the name of a person, Dr. Cross. Each letter stands for education that meets the needs of students and inspires learning, and an ability to learn from one's mistakes. Discovery, learning to uncover information and use it. Risk, taking a chance and learning from mistakes. Collaboration, using the value of the group to enhance learning and pool resources. Real tasks with real consequences, providing opportunities to take on and be held accountable to challenges. Originality, moving beyond passive seat time to active learning in the community, out of doors, through one's own exploration of interests. Skills, connecting all curricula to national standards and educated competencies. Service, using education in a way that meets the needs of one's society. There are several kinds of teachers and several cultural, political, regional contexts. The ambitious task of preparing teachers for the 21st century requires that we provide the best information possible so that we may make our contribution towards a sustainable future for all generations. Defining terms. Global education versus education that is global. Traditional versus tradition. Teachers Without Borders is not about global education as the accumulation of facts about the world or geography lessons. While these are, indeed, important, we are focused on education that is global in the encompassing of methodologies that treat the whole student and emphasize the exploration of the subject as whole. Another highlight is the difference between traditional and tradition. Alfred North Whitehead made this distinction clear. He defined traditional as the dead ideas of the living. He defined tradition as the living ideas of the dead, a nice distinction and a guide. No one wants to eliminate the masterpieces of bygone eras or dismiss one's history for the sake of the newest, especially untested, trends. An educated person in the 21st century remembers and appreciates history, while simultaneously embracing the present. In fact, anything sustainable protects the future by grounding it in the past. Our courses reflect wisdom, whether that comes from the villager relying on oral tradition, or the scholar relying upon the written tradition of text and context. This course respects tradition and indigenous learning. We consider the cultural aspects of a society as one of its pillars. We want to emphasize, therefore, the importance of the contributions that come from societies that may not have a written language or contemporary technological devices. A 21st century education, therefore, should not be substituted for modern, better or Western. It follows that a 21st century education celebrates and enhances wisdom wherever and whenever it takes place. There is plenty of theory out there and you should know it. Great teaching, however, is not about theory, but practice. Theory should inform what you do, but more than anything else it should be integrated so that it is natural. Teachers Without Borders has turned theory into advice, teacher to teacher, and we have summarized it below, simply and clearly. Focus on the students, not you. You are not an expert in charge of giving students the pill of knowledge. It does not work that way. In planning your lessons, think of what the students will do, how they will discover, engage with, and use information, not how you will perform. Focus on who your students are. As the saying goes, it's who you know. The word education comes from the Latin word educare, meaning to grow and to rear. That is what you are doing. The teachers and parents who know their students best are the most effective. There is a big difference between just knowing about a student, and truly knowing him or her. The difference is the gap between mediocrity and excellence. Your classroom, your assignments, and your nature should give rise to the conditions that make knowing students a priority. Make it safe. Education is not about challenging the core of who one is, but about challenging ideas. We cannot think when we are frightened. Your classroom and environment must be free of intimidation. As TWB has stressed before, if you ever strike a student, you shall be removed from this course of study. Many times, intimidation comes from a remark that destroys a student's willingness to learn. Never embarrass a student in public. Show, don't tell. There are many dimensions to this. Good writing, for instance, describes a crisp fall day by providing images of crimson and yellow leaves, the warm smell of bread baking, the crunch of snow under one's feet. Telling is top-down. Showing is bottom-up. That's the theme here. In terms of teaching, show students where they are going, what they need to accomplish. Then show them how to get there. Provide examples. Model it. Use it. Make it clear and real what it is they need to know in order to get there. Are you teaching physics? Then show them the principle at work, show them the dynamics, get them to figure out how and why. Show, don't tell. Break it down, but don't break it apart. Great teachers make the unfamiliar familiar again. Sometimes a concept is overwhelming. If that is the case, start with the foundation and work your way up. People need to understand the story, where it starts, where it is headed, and what it will look like in the end. It is important, then, to make things clear enough in small chunks, so that people can put together the pieces of the puzzle. Curriculum and teaching need a beginning, a middle, and an end. Get students engaged, direct them towards understanding, and show them how and why the lessons are valuable. Show, don't tell. Tell the truth. Many teachers believe that if they don't have all the answers, they're worthless. No one has all the answers. If you answer a student with "I don't know," perhaps you can also extend it to "let's find out." Guide your students to become collaborators in their own learning and co-explorers, with you, in the classroom. Invite them to be subject matter experts. Students need authenticity, not awe. Make it human. In designing curriculum, find out what makes people relate to it. Mathematics was invented for a reason, so describe a problem it can solve, a real one. All great teaching makes complex ideas clear by tying the abstract to a human enterprise. Show, don't tell. Emphasize what you want students to remember. Go for depth, rather than breadth. Play with the important points by introducing different ways of going about understanding the key issues. More on this later, in the section on learning styles. For now, focus on what, at the end of the day, students can identify as the core of the lesson, what they will remember. When all the hacking away at the clay has been completed, what is the elegant sculpted piece that results? Questions are as good as answers. Good questions require thinking. Nobel Peace Prize winner Elie Wiesel is reported to have come home from school one day and sat near his mother at the kitchen table. Instead of asking him "How did you do?" or "What grade did you get?" his mother asked him, "Did you ask any good questions today?" Questions probe. Answers come from study and should themselves be the stimulus for even greater and more extensive questions. Less is more. We are not suggesting that you teach less, but teach more by talking less. When you ask a question, don't dive in and answer it if you don't get something back immediately. Cherish the thinking time. Listen. Pay attention to how students are feeling, grappling with the material, treating each other. Give students an opportunity to teach. We all know this to be true. Teaching is not separate from learning. Since that is the case, let us not reserve teaching for teachers alone. Allow opportunities for students to become experts in an area and to share their expertise. Provide chances for older or more competent students to tutor younger or less competent ones. Think about how athletic coaches and artists work. The coach demonstrates what she knows, explains the rules, gives the student an opportunity to practice, provides feedback, and puts the student into real-life situations. So should a teacher. The artist assembles materials, conceives of the piece, works at it in stages, and collects the work for critique. So should the teacher. The athletic coach and the artist are non-traditional teachers, and they have a great deal to offer all of us. Their techniques are the key to many students who would otherwise not grasp the material from traditional lectures or handouts.